Hello.
Hello. Thank you for joining me today for the April 2025 book club live stream. How's everybody doing today? Hope you're doing good. If you're not, I hope you feel better tomorrow. Tomorrow's another day. Today we are talking about Stephen King, The Gunslinger, book number 1 in the Dark Tower series. Hello, Callum. I can see you. Actually, I just realised, can I put in the chat anything?
Can I? Can I type in the chat? I wanted to put the eyes emoji back to you.
I don't know how I can. Okay, great. Sorry. Totally just realised I can type myself in the chat. That's great. Hello, The Rogue. Hope you are having a good day / evening.
Hello, Rishi.
Good evening to you as well.
Nice to see you.
Well, nice to see some regulars as well who like to do a few of these book club live streams. It's always fun to have people who I recognise as well as new people. Got a good mix. So yeah, today we're talking about the King, Stephen King, The Gunslinger. Although very mixed opinions on this one. I'm just going to throw that out there straight away. I can't quite decide how I feel about the book. Hello to Cooney, nice to see you as well. Awesome, cool. So let's just jump straight into it. What were your guys' opinion on this book? I think one of my main opinions, firstly, is that I'm very happy it was kind of short because I don't know how this would have felt if it was like a 700-page book. There were a lot of moments where I was a little bit confused. But maybe I just didn't understand the plot. Maybe it will become more clear if I read the other ones in the series. I don't know. I think that this is definitely just a beginning to a series. This definitely does not feel like it could ever be a standalone, in my opinion. I'm not going to hold the book up for the whole live stream because I think my arm will go a little bit dead. But yeah, what was everybody's thoughts on this book? This is definitely the one, in my opinion, where I feel like I can't decide whether or not I liked it. Out of all the books that we've done so far, this is the one I'm most indecisive about. The Rogue says, I first read it a year ago, but I loved it. I still have yet to continue the series. Amazing. That's good. I'm really glad to hear that you loved it. So it's split into different parts, isn't it? And I think there was 5 different parts. There were a few of the parts that I absolutely loved. Like that last part was my favourite. But then the first part, I really didn't like that much. And I think that's why I'm confused as to how I feel about the book overall. Because for me, I loved some parts and I really didn't like other parts. So it's hard to make an opinion on it. Did Cooney says it could have been a lot shorter. I got about 70% through and realised the very first sentence was enough. Yeah, absolutely. Like imagine if that was like a full-length book. Because to me, this is a short one. Like anything that's under 300 pages, I would class as a short book. I don't know how he would pad that out into anything longer. The Rat Mafia, hello, nice to see you, says, it's very much a starter book to get the ball rolling. Yeah, that is exactly how I felt about the book. Was when I finished it, I thought, that answers nothing. It has very much introduced basically characters. I don't even know what the plot was. And I feel like this is why the series is so long. There's so many books in the Dark Tower series. So I feel like it was very much so an introductory book that you do need to read more to get the gist of what's going to happen, which makes sense. Gets you hooked.
Rogue says sorry years ago.
No problem. You mentioned that you still have yet to continue the series. Do you want to? I imagine you probably do if you ended up loving The Gunslinger. I probably would read the second book, like the next one,
just to get more of a feel for the plot.
Rashi says, I felt like the entirety of Tull could have been cut out, seemed irrelevant. Yeah, so that's the first part, isn't it? That was definitely my least favourite. I think that was because it was right at the start of the book. That's where I was really confused as to actually what was going on. And I didn't like the gunslinger's time in Tull. I felt like some of it was irrelevant. And the only juicy bit was right at the end when he left Tull, to be honest. Sid Cooney says, if a starter book doesn't kick you in the pants and give you a good time, it's an ender for me. Yeah, I do agree. I mean, I think I'm a bit more lenient because I do like to give things a chance. Like I do, especially when this is so short. So I was like, I've not spent too much of my life reading it.
So I might give
The second one a go. I know that the second one is a bit longer, I think.
and then I think I'll make
An opinion on the series overall. Whereas with this one, I mean, it didn't like wow me, but
it was, I don't know.
like I said, there were parts that I loved, so I might read the second one, hoping that it will continue the parts I loved or have more elements of the parts I loved.
But yeah,
there were definitely loads of that book that I was a bit unsure of. Some very interesting themes in it as well. It's kind of one of the bits that I loved the most was the end part with the man in black. Actually, I should just say this for anybody who isn't aware, but full spoilers in this live stream. Just want to give a disclaimer there in case you don't want things spoiled for you. There will be many spoilers in this. But yeah, my favourite part was the man in black talking about like the universe and infinity and things never ending. Loved that. So powerful. Really powerful dialogue there. Oh, Chromecast, good morning from New Zealand. Good morning to you. I hope you have a good day. Eric says, I do want to, but I always got caught up in other things. I feel that. I really feel that. I originally didn't because I was 19 at the time and I barely read anything in college. And when I did, it was mostly standalones. Yeah, that's understandable. There are so many series that I started like ages ago that I want to pick back up again, but there's just always other things to do and there's always other things to read that you just never get around to them. So that makes sense. Rashi says, I think Stephen King can be a bit hit or miss. Felt like this one was a miss. A bit overhyped in my opinion.
That's fair. Completely. Yeah, I don't know enough about Stephen King, to be honest. I mean, I've read 3 books now. One of them I absolutely loved. The Shining, loved it. Really, really loved it. The Gunslinger is definitely my least favourite King book that I've read. And then I read Salem's Lot as my first one, which was like a decent one. I liked that one. So yeah, I can't really say. I don't feel like I've read enough Stephen King yet to give a full opinion as to whether or not he's hit or miss. The Rat Mafia says, this book was a love letter to old Western movies. Yeah, I actually did really like the Western vibe. The rest of the series moves away from those themes into just plain weirdness. We love a bit of weirdness. Yeah, that's a really good point. I did like the Western elements. I haven't read a book that's been set in Western vibes for a long time, if ever. Have I? I'm trying to think in my head if I ever have. Surely I have. But yeah, I liked that. It was different. It was interesting. I love things that include a desert. I don't know why. I just do. So yeah, I really liked that. Gunslinger was my first King. Wow. Awesome. So he really must have got you hooked. Yeah, I think maybe that's why I didn't enjoy it as much, because the most recent King I read was The Shining. And to me, the writing styles are very, very different. I think The Shining is a top tier book. That hooked me. If that was my first Stephen King book, I would have, it honestly blew me out of the park. It was great. So I think maybe because I read The Gunslinger afterwards, I'm now comparing everything to The Shining. Maybe that's my problem. Maybe I should have read The Gunslinger first and I might have liked it a lot more because I hadn't read The Shining yet. I don't know. Excellent carrot cake. Hi everyone, happy Saturday. Happy Saturday to you. Thank you for joining us. Kikuni says, I love Stephen King. He was my first author I read for fun. His writing style is always a good time, and I liked it here too. Yeah, he's a very strong author. There's no denying that. I just think sometimes, based on what I've heard from other people and from The Gunslinger, his plots in some books are a little bit odd. But his writing style is great. Like, the guy can write. Callum says, carrot cake, every time I see your name, I smile. It's excellent. Me too. I feel that. Every time I see that username, it does bring a smile to my face. I felt this was like an overwritten parable rather than a plotted novel. Yeah. And that's why I'm intrigued to read the next one to see if it does feel more like a novel and a story and a plot. But obviously, like the Rat Mafia said earlier, apparently it moves into weirdness. So maybe that doesn't happen. Not sure I'm massively invested on where Roland goes next, which is a shame. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about Roland as a character. I didn't feel like he was particularly likable. And for me, I do actually struggle with that. That's just a personal preference. If I don't really like a main character, I do find it kind of hard to be in their perspectives all the time. And that can really dictate how I feel about a book. So maybe that was one of my problems as well. I wasn't a massive fan of Roland. There were characters that I liked. Weirdly, I really liked the Man in Black. Don't know why.
Maybe it's the intrigue and the mystery behind him and his dialogue towards the end of the book. Really liked him. I also like the young boy. What was his name?
Jake?
What's his name, Jake?
If it's not, then sorry to all the King fans out there. Oh, what was his name?
Does anybody know the name of the little boy?
His name begins with a J. Jake!
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, great. Yeah, I liked him, basically. He was great. I think he was a good character. He was quite funny, quite personable. Yeah, I did like him. If more of the book was from his perspective, I might have enjoyed it a lot more, to be fair. Where did I get up to in the comments? Where she says, I enjoyed the flashbacks from Roland, to be honest, and learning more about the world which came before. Yes, that's a very good point. I really liked that as well. I did like the backstory, Roland when he was younger, before he got into this weird, random world that he's in currently, which I still don't understand. I mean, what world is he in? Does anybody know? What are your thoughts on that? Is he in like an in-between world after death? I don't know. Is he in the afterlife? I've got no clue. King does love to get weird. I do like a little bit of weird. Depends how weird he gets.
I didn't get his motivation.
Beyond the abstract, the Dark Tower. Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, I did Google afterwards, after I read the book, what is the Dark Tower, like what is the purpose of it?
And I still don't really get it.
So I was fully prepared to have the entire series spoiled for me. And I still didn't really understand it. So maybe I do just have to read the books and have my own
like interpretation. Potential spoilers in that question, Becky.
Oh, I don't know if I want the whole series spoiled for me. But do I have the time to read like the 9 books that are in the series? Maybe my lifetime I might. But I kind of want to know the answers now. I'm not going to know them now unless I sit and read the whole series right now, which might take me a while. Part Wild West, part post-apocalyptic, reference to the Beatles, etc. Yeah, I really like the Wild West part to it. But again, I don't understand like why he was in the Wild West. I don't know. Either way, it was a different book. I think that is what I liked about it. It was just a different book to what I've read before. I haven't read anything like The Gunslinger. It was unique. It was one of a kind. It was interesting in parts. There were just a lot of parts that I also felt were unnecessary. And a lot of parts I just didn't really understand. And I tried to come up with an interpretation of what they meant. And I just don't know. I came to no conclusions. So, but then that's why I think it's definitely not a standalone. It's 100% meant to be in a series. But for the first book in a series, I'm not sure whether it was like the strongest out that it could be. But who knows? What was everybody's favourite part then? Even if you didn't enjoy The Gunslinger, was there any part that was your favourite or your least detested? I'd be interested to know. Don't mind me sipping wine, it's been a long day. Like I said, mine was the part at the end where the man in black is talking through Infinity, what's going on about you? I don't know, he had a really, really powerful speech that actually there was like this massive paragraph that he was saying, and I just remember reading it and thinking that is a very beautifully written last few pages. Like it was honestly stunning. It was a very, very powerful chapter. I think it would have been better as a series of short stories scattered throughout one of his short story collections. That is an incredible point, actually, and I think I agree. Yeah, I think that would be, because they did kind of feel like short stories, and especially if you took certain parts away, you could easily turn this into a short story collection
about the Gunslinger. I like that idea. I mean, obviously it's too late now because this book was released many, many decades ago, but that I think that would have worked a little bit better for me, I think. Rashi says, my favourite part was Roland telling Jake about his past. Yeah, I enjoyed the parts about Roland's past and his like trying to be a gunslinger. And that's another bit that I didn't really understand. Why he attacked that man with a bird? Why did he attack the man? Does anybody know
what part I'm on, well, like what part I mean. He had a bird that was called David, and he killed this guy who was like training him. Does anybody know why? I don't understand why he did that.
I think that's what I
I
mean.
mean, I think a lot of the times there are actions that Roland did or things that he said. And I just remember thinking, but why? Typically, he said, I enjoyed Tull. It had interactions with more characters. That is very true. It did. It had the most amount of characters in Tull, obviously, because it was in that little village, that town. But then, obviously, he just goes and destroys the entire town. I actually did quite like learning about all the different characters in the pub. So there was that lady who works in the pub there, and there was a part where it was going through all the different people who go there and kind of their backstories and kind of what they're doing, their types of personality. I just thought that was quite cool, seeing the townsfolk in the pub or the tavern. And it was just going through all these different people. I did think that was quite interesting. But then from that point, it all just got a bit weird. Reb says, I think it actually is a compilation of stories that King published in magazines in the 60s and 70s. That's very interesting. Yeah, that's cool. So he obviously wrote them as like a collection of short stories and then maybe decided to make them into a bigger series, because this is not a short series. Like this, there are so many books in the Dark Tower series. I'm so sure that was not his initial plan to make it that long. Rashi says, my issues with Tull was some of the language. Seems unneeded, but I did like the feel of the town, yeah. Although the shootout at the end, where did that come from? Yeah, so that's where there was like highly religious themes, surely, right at the end, because he... I mean, was he like trying to, do something about the devil? Like, was he trying to cure them of the devil's influence? I don't really know. Yeah, I don't really understand the end part to Tull either. And some of that language felt a bit outdated. There were definitely certain parts where I felt this hasn't aged too well, especially some interactions with some of the other characters, particularly some of the female ones. Didn't really feel like they aged very well, but it's an old book, so time has moved on from them. If it was released now, it probably would have had some different things in there. So I can't criticize a book for not aging well when it was appropriate for the time that it was released in. I mean, this book was released in, was it the 1970s? Well, actually, the Rogue said before, the magazines were published in the 60s. By the way, this book is old. Older than me, anyway. Yeah, so some parts haven't aged very well, but that's fine. I can't critique a book for that. The Rogue, that's interesting to know. It is. And if at that time, I guess it was when King was often off his box on drinking drugs. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, maybe that. Oh my goodness, maybe that was why the Dark Tower was so weird. He was just drunk all the time when he wrote it. That makes sense. They sometimes say that people's creative instincts and inspiration comes to them during those times. I can see that. I think the drugs came a little bit later on. Okay, so it was just the drink then. Just the drink. Yeah, I mean, it hasn't put me off Stephen King reading this book. It just wasn't my favourite. But to be fair, I heard mixed things from other people when I was telling them that we were reading The Gunslinger for the book club. I did hear very mixed things, so I don't think my expectations were all that high, to be honest. So yeah, it didn't meet my expectations, but it also didn't, whatever the opposite of that phrase is. My brain's not thinking. It never does on the evening. But yeah, it didn't I can't be disappointed in it because I didn't have expectations in the first place, if that kind of makes sense. I thought the whole story was an analogy about his struggle against addiction, to be honest. Really? I'd love to hear more of your thoughts on that. Why do you think that? That's cool. I like that, though. Kenny Moore, hi. Listening as I eat lunch. What are you having for lunch out of interest? I hope you're enjoying it and having a good day. Thank you for joining us today. So I'm trying to think if there was anything else that I wanted to say about the book. Let me see what notes I wrote down. Yeah, I really didn't write that much about this book. Last month I wrote so much about the Blade itself. I was writing notes after every single chapter. And for this one I really didn't write that much. So I don't know what that says about it. can say that phrase without my video being banned, but Callum, I do agree. There was a lot of reference to that. The Dark Tower was something that represented redemption, being clean. Wow, you picked up on that. I think I completely missed the whole point of the Dark Tower. Maybe I need to reread it. All I knew was that Roland the Gunslinger was trying to get to the Dark Tower, and he was trying to chase the man in black, and the Oracle told him that he needed to kill Jake. And that's all I got from it. Hello, the Advocate. Nice to see you. Just joined the stream. What did I miss? You basically missed us all being very confused about the Gunslinger, or just me being confused and other people trying to tell me what the book is about. But I'm still confused and we're 20 minutes in. But I love hearing other people's thoughts and opinions on this. Everybody subscribe to The Advocate if you haven't already. And if you like book stuff, and in particular Song of Ice and Fire stuff, you will very much so like his videos. He has not paid me to say this, I just really like his videos. So one of the things that I wrote about this book was it has a very iconic first opening line, and it does. The best part of this book is the opening line. I mean, obviously most people won't agree with that statement, but it does. You're very welcome, Advocate. I'm trying to get past the foreword to read the first line of the book. Why is the foreword so long? Does anybody else just not like when a foreword is so long? Here we go. The man in black fled across the desert and the gunslinger followed. I just love it. I just love that first line. You're not right, Cooney. It is iconic. Very good. It is a very good first line of a book. It's just a shame the rest of it didn't follow that. But, you know, it can't. I mean, how many lines in a book? Many. Many lines. They can't all be that iconic. But because it's the first line, and it's so simple but so strong, I really liked it. I skip forwards that usually spoil the book. Yeah, and they're usually very boring. I always try to read like the forewords, the acknowledgements, all that kind of stuff. I always try to, but I couldn't tell you one where I felt it was necessary to read it. They just don't give like anything. I could read the book and feel the same. Sometimes the acknowledgements are quite cute because of who they thank, but I don't know why I force myself to read them half the time. I think it may be King's only memorable first line. Yeah, I mean, obviously I've read 3 King books, but I can't remember how the other 2 start. And I feel like I'll remember how this one starts because it's just so simple, straight to the point, and tells you actually the plot of the entire book in the first line. He flees across the desert, and the gunslinger follows him. And that's what's happening for like the whole 300 pages. But it is good in parts. What else did I write? I wrote, I like the idea of a mysterious man searching the land, trying to find another mysterious man. And how we went back in time to a retelling of events in Tull for the first section, but I did not enjoy how the concept of Tull was executed. There you go. There's my very insightful thoughts. Sometimes I read this stuff back and I'm like, did I even write this? What does this even mean? Was I just very tired when I wrote some of these? The chapter describing, spoiler alert, Jake's death was powerful and well written. How he's just a young boy living a normal life, but then he sees the man in black moments before he dies. Yeah, that's true actually. I did like Jake's past and how he was just kind of living his normal life, and then all of a sudden he's in a Western world afterlife. What did you guys think? I mean, he kind of dies twice, doesn't he? Because he dies once in real world, and then he dies the second time at the end when they're about to reach the man in black. What did you guys think to Jake? I like Jake. I was a fan of Jake. I loved Tom. The whole thing with Norton, if Ali says 19 to him, that was weird and dark and promising. Yeah, I did like that. Also, does anybody know why 19? Like, what is the significance of the word 19? Like, I liked the fact that she was like saying to the gunslinger, like, don't let me say it. I can't say it. If I say it, like, you know, stuff's going to go down. And then she does, obviously. That was inevitable. But I just wondered if I missed the significance of 19, like the phrase 19. What does that mean? Is there a meaning behind that, or was it just a random phrase? Did I miss something? I'd love to know if anybody knows why, just to help me gain more of an understanding. That is some very good wine. What else did I write? I preferred the second novella. I called it a novella. Ooh, more than the first. The second one felt like it gave more character depth to Roland and a more interesting plot. I could follow it a little bit more and understand what that was happening, but then what was happening in that chapter, but then I lost it in the third section. Okay. I thought the 19 itself was relevant. Yeah, I that's what I was thinking. Is it irrelevant, or was there like an explanation behind, like a meaning behind that phrase? It was more about the danger of not being able to resist temptation. Again, where I thought the book was about addiction. That is a great link. That makes so much sense, because it's kind of like that thing where if somebody tells you not to think of something, you're going to think of it. Like I could say something absolutely awful right now for you all to think about, and you think about it, but I'm not going to do that to you. But I could, because it is that thing of like, if you know, don't think of the color blue, and then you'll think of the color blue inevitably, because it's like that temptation, or your mind just goes there. That's not the awful thing I was going to tell you guys to think about, by the way. But yeah, I think that's a really great link that you've made there, Tid Cooney, about why you think addiction is represented throughout that book. Like, I can totally see that being the reason why. The in real life explanation might be because King was 19 when he came up with the idea for the Dark Tower. I could be wrong though. That makes sense. Okay, that's great. So 19 itself, in terms of the book, is random. That's reassuring to me, because I didn't know whether or not I'd missed something there, and whether I thought, is 19 like a specific phrase that I should have known, or like, should I know why they picked that? But it sounds like it is just random, so that's fair. There is a brilliant King short story about this called The Jaunt. It's a Stephen King writing. That's cool. I've never heard of that short story. I might have to check that out, especially if it's a short story. I'll definitely have time to read that. I can't remember if 19 specifically is relevant, but numbers become relevant later. Okay, cool. That is good to know. See, I do like the mystery elements of this book. That obviously we don't get any questions answered, and that's fine, because it's a series, it's not a standalone book. But I quite like the intrigue and the mystery, and like, you know, we're all talking about, is 19 relevant, and are there underlying themes to the book? Obviously we've got addiction as one of the themes that's been highlighted. Like, I love when there's like underlying mystery to it that isn't completely like described, that it's not in front of your face. We can kind of like delve a bit deeper into it. I do like that element, and I feel like that's consistent throughout a lot of King's books. I feel like there were parts that I noticed in Salem's Lot and The Shining as well that are a bit like that, where he doesn't describe it like in front of your face. He leaves you to kind of work it out, or to kind of have your own interpretation of it. I love when they do stuff like that. Hello, Ireland's pacifist. Oh, I've read The Gunslinger. Awesome. What did you think to it? We've had some mixed opinions today on it. Some people love it. Some people didn't like it so much. I am a bit in the middle. I liked parts a lot. I didn't like parts. So I'd be interested to see what you think. What else did I write? Oh yeah, going back to my favourite bit, where they're talking about infinity, and like the never-ending kind of cycle in the universe at the end. When the man in black is talking about like the atoms inside a blade of grass, or like a grain of sand, and he's talking about like how, I suppose, like with a microscope, if you really delve into it, like what seems so small to us is actually made up of like hundreds of thousands of tiny little atoms. Like, when you think really deep like that, yeah, it just put things into perspective. It was just really, really cool. I really did like that final part of the book. I liked it. I read it a year or two ago. Read the whole series. Wow, awesome! It's a long series. I normally read classics, so I made myself read some King. Awesome, that's cool. So, what did you think, without spoiling the rest of the series? What did you think to the series as a whole? Because I've heard it gets really weird. So yeah, I'd be interested to see what you think. I think I definitely will at some point read the next one. And then from there, if I do really, really enjoy that one a lot more than the Gunslinger, I might read the rest of the series at some point. Like I'll just make it a goal to go through them. But it is a long series. So we shall see. I'm in no rush, but I think at some point I might get them read. I don't know. I'm hopefully going to read for the rest of my life. And hopefully I'll have some more life left to live. Some more time for books to read. I liked it. I wrote down a bunch of theories and everything. I love that. I love when you, like, from like a book or a series, you can write down loads of theories and loads of like ideas. I love that. I predicted some of it, which I'm proud of. Awesome, well done. It's not super obvious by any means. I was enthralled and taking notes. That's great. I love when things are not super obvious, and especially if you come up with a theory and you get it right, but it wasn't predictable. Like it wasn't guaranteed that the plot was going to go that way, but you just kind of, your interpretation of it meant that you kind of got it right. I love when stuff like that happens. That's really rare that that'll happen as well. I normally guess things and get them completely wrong. It was a wild ending, the cosmic scope of it, but I still didn't get the stakes. The Dark Tower power nexus, didn't really feel it. Yeah, definitely. I think that's it. So I didn't understand in this book the relevancy of the Dark Tower, because obviously the Gunslinger did not go there. Like he didn't. I mean, he kept being told he needed to go there. Like the Oracle told him to go there, the Man in Black told him to go there, but we don't know anything about it. So I kind of thought you could take the whole part of the Dark Tower out of the Gunslinger, and it wouldn't have changed what the Gunslinger is about. Like it wouldn't have changed the story or what Roland does. So that's where I think it will change in the next few books in the series, because the Dark Tower has to become relevant at some point. It is the Dark Tower series, so you would think that it would. You'd hope so anyway. Truthfully, the payoff is so disappointing, but the books are worth reading. That's fair. Yeah, I mean, it's a writing style that I like. So if you like King's writing style, then it's not like the worst way of spending your time, is it, to read some of those books? If I was waiting years in between books, I might have been pissed at the end. Lol. Yeah. I suppose that's the fortunate position that I'm in at the moment, where like I can just pick up the next book after finishing one of them. Whereas if you were somebody who had to wait that whole time and then it wasn't a satisfying ending, that is truly the world's worst pain. Not literally, but it is up there. I've read the series as a King wrote it, sometimes for many years in between. It's rough. That is rough. King rarely ends his books well, I feel, though I love the guy. Yeah, like I said, I still have more King books to read, so I may agree with that, or I may disagree with that. We'll have to see. I do have a lot of King behind me, actually, don't I? I always struggle with the mirror element of the webcam. I can never point my finger right. There we go. It's so trippy, like moving my hand, but like it's opposite, like it's flipped to me. Weird. Absolutely mind-blowing stuff there. What books do I have behind me by King? I've got Doctor Sleep, Cujo, Firestarter, and It. I think those are the ones I have. Benjamin Reeds, nice to see you. Good evening. Hope you're having a good day. I've heard that the Dark Tower ties into a lot of King's other works as the series goes on. I had that as well. I heard that there are some characters that were in other books, so that intrigues me. If you read a lot of King's books, you might get some cool Easter eggs. Yes, that is something I am excited for. I need to find out what books these Easter eggs are in, because if I end up, he's got a lot of books. If I end up reading all the ones where there's no Easter eggs and no relevancy to the Dark Tower series, that's just not on. I see It back there, one of my favourites. Yeah, I do. I also love that, like, Pennywise's face is just like looking at everybody. Look, I'm not alone in this room. He's right there. I'm excited to read it. It's just very, very big. It's very daunting because it's so big. So So I'm going to try and read that at some point soon. Maybe over the summer, I think. Your next Game of Thrones reaction, could you give us a Southern Belle accent, please? It would be great. I'll give it my best shot for you. I'm not making any promises. Do not get your expectations high, but I will try. And you'll see that I will try. It helps having so many King books on your shelf, hard to miss. Yeah, I mean, he's made his name obnoxiously big on those spines. Like, you can barely read, like, the spines of the rest of the books, but then, like, Stephen King is, like, bam, in your face. It's the most obnoxious and best way to have his name known. I think all of his books are in the same universe or multiverse or whatever you want to call it. Oh, great. Oh, that's cool. So then if I read a lot more by him, then I should definitely pick up on certain characters. You haven't read it yet, though. Same with Pet Cemetery. Oh, Pet Cemetery. I have that as well. I have that next to me, actually. Yeah. This is the next King book that I'm going to read, I think. Pet Cemetery first, then Doctor Sleep, and then whichever one calls out to me on my bookshelf, maybe it, because I'm going to read that over the summer. There is a whole mythology with King, and with characters wandering in and out of each other's stories. I love that. Like, I really like when things are interlinked like that, especially if there's like an author that you really like to read, and then like you notice Easter eggs from other books that they've done. I love that. That makes me excited. That does something to me. Most of King's books are connected. He's big on the whole multiverse stuff. Why did I not know this? Why did I not know that he's big on the multiverse stuff? Yeah, I love that. Without outright saying it, many characters clearly have the shining ability. Ooh, cool. Okay, I'm trying to think. Yeah, I mean, I've only read 3 books, and I don't feel like there was anybody in the Gunslinger. Maybe. There's so many thoughts going through my head right now. I'm going to go on a Stephen King day. I'm really happy about this. There was actually another book that I saw that I loved the front cover to that's called Fairy Tale by Stephen King. Has anybody read that? And if so, would you recommend? I was captivated by the front cover. Now, I know you shouldn't judge a book by the cover, but when it has a really nice one, it does speak to me. Can't help thinking of Jaime Lannister when Roland lets Jake fall to his death for his own benefit. Same. What is it about these fully grown men allowing young male children to fall to their deaths? I don't understand. I don't understand how they get a kick out of it. These men need to be told that it's not on. For a second as well, I almost started liking Jaime Lannister, but then I remembered what he did to Bran. Poor Jake, young boys really have a good time in King's books. That's true. Yeah, because Danny in The Shining, he does not have he's not got a good life. Poor boy. I wonder how much of him as a kid is in these stories. I really hope not, but it wouldn't surprise me if that was like the motivation behind his works as well, was his own past, like childhood, or parts of himself or his identity in that. I do sometimes wonder that, you know, when there's like trauma that's written about in books and it feels so well written or it feels so real to the POV character, I often wonder, like, does the author have like almost a direct experience with this, or are there elements of like the author in this? Because sometimes it's so well written then I feel like it can't not. Like, they have to know it from like a personal experience, surely. He often goes on to how cruel parents can be. Yeah, he does. And I've already picked that up on reading 3 books by him. So definitely. So I'm kind of wondering, unfortunately, if that is something that like he has direct experience with, because he writes it so well. And I'm just thinking, like, I know I'm not an author, so I can't write well at all. But if I tried to write about an experience I'd never gone through before, how would you write it so well? You'd have to do a lot of research. But I don't know. There's parts where I do often wonder if the author has put parts of himself in it. I'm rereading A Storm of Swords, and I remember how much I hated Jaime at first. Yeah, I had a natural dislike to Jaime throughout, like consistently throughout A Song of Ice and Fire. I do prefer him in the show. Like, I think the TV show version of him is more likable to me. But yeah, I definitely felt that he was very arrogant in the books. I mean, he is, but I just felt that a lot more in the books. I think his pops left the family when he was young. Might be confusing him with someone else. Oh, that's a shame if that did happen. But that also makes sense why he's able to turn that into a beautifully written story. Turn your trauma into something creative and that can earn you a lot of money. Why not make money off of it?
I hope you guys realise to never take advice from me. Either. Don't ever do it.
Did I write anything else?
I wrote,
very confused by the ending. I feel like it's setting up the rest of the books in the series.
Essentially, the last few chapters were all
foreshadowing and no answers.
And that is all I wrote
about my thoughts on the Gunslinger.
But yes,
all foreshadowing. You say that, but George R. R. Martin can write about medieval times and medieval themes pretty well. And I assume he didn't live through those times. Wow, you make a brilliant point. You actually do. Maybe he just, I mean, there's a lot of research out there about it, but you're absolutely right. Like, you can almost feel like you're embedded into the medieval times as well. But obviously, like, he's never lived through that. That's impossible. So you make a very good point. Stand By Me is a king's story, and a big part of that is parental abuse neglect. So there's another one to back up your theory there.
He's got something about
parental neglect. George R. R. Martin is pretty old, to be fair. Yeah, but not that old. He'd have to be hundreds of years, wouldn't he? How long ago was the medieval times? A long old time. Wouldn't he have to be thousands of years old? He would, wouldn't he? He'd have to be thousands of years old to have been living in medieval times. Wow. Stand By Me isn't. Boy, I loved that film.
Oh, Stand By Me! I've seen the movie,
and that is a Stephen King book, isn't it? Wow, I just made myself feel really dumb. It is, isn't it? Well, I'm not going to read that. Jason Entertainment. Hey, Becky, how are you doing today? I'm doing very well today, thank you. How are you doing?
I feel so much better after doing this live stream.
I was feeling very, very tired and drained before, and now I've pepped up and I'm ready to read some more Stephen King. What sport does Becky practice?
What sport do I practice?
Nothing, but I like to watch a lot. Do you watch football? I do watch football, yes. I watch both English football and NFL, American football. And I also watch rugby as well. We're quite, in Yorkshire, we're quite hard on the rugby, and I do like it. What sport do you practice, Jason Entertainment? I would love to know. And if anybody else feels free to share as well. Trying to think if there's any other thoughts I had on the Gunslinger. It was quite a short book, so I don't think there was anything else really. Well, we can chat for a bit longer.
I did write a question down here actually,
but I feel like we've kind of answered it already. Did the ending to the book satisfy you, or did you feel it left something to be desired? And I think we've gathered that it's left a lot to be desired, in my opinion. But actually, apparently for the people who've read the whole series, it was unsatisfying. But if you enjoy the journey, then maybe the end doesn't matter too much. Who is your English team? I watch the Premier League as well. I'm not going to lie, I prefer American football more than English football. I tend to just watch whatever English games are on. I don't have a team. I know that's blasphemy in this country. I'm so sorry. I will rectify that. But who is your English team? I could tell you my American team because I really do like the NFL a lot. Which I feel like I'm a traitor to England by saying that. I'm so sorry. I love England. But I also love American football. Sorry. But I like watching England football from a neutral point of view. Just watching it because it's just quite fun to watch at times. Football and badminton, nice. I used to like badminton actually. Used to do a lot of swimming, but since COVID didn't get a chance to do it. That's a shame. COVID's ruined a lot of things. Rogue likes rugby too. Nice. I do like rugby.
It's also possible that George R. R. Martin is making it all up and makes it sound convincing. I don't know. I'm not a historian. That's a good point. How would we know? I mean, I've said he makes it feel so real, but like, how would I know if it wasn't? There's probably so many flaws and inaccuracies in his writing about historic times. How would we ever know? I wouldn't. The average viewer probably wouldn't. Interesting. Deep thoughts. It was a book where I felt very satisfied at the ending because it had ended. I love that. Do you know what? That's such a positive way of looking at books that you don't like. I love that. I'm going to take inspiration from your viewpoints, Cooney. That is a very that's made my day. I love badminton. What's the American football team? I must have missed it. I mean, in terms of the NFL, I am a Miami Dolphins fan. Can't tell you why. I just really like the way. Well, I like the way they used to play. They didn't have a great season just gone, but I've never played rugby. I have to one day. I actually have played rugby. I don't have the bodily stature for it, I would say, because it's quite a brutal game. And it wasn't a women's only team. But it was really fun. But people who have to do that as their day job, wow, imagine the injuries. Because I'm nowhere near as padded up as NFL players. Like NFL players have like the helmets, they have like the padding, like they've got like armor on their bodies. Rugby players, nah, no armor. I just don't know how they do it. Watch our rugby team. Yorkshire Gown. Can't tell you because it would reveal where I live. To be fair, the one team I do actually like are the Catalans. I do actually quite like them. They're not even from Yorkshire, but it is quite funny. I like their coloured uniforms, but I couldn't tell you a single player. Nothing wrong with Miami. You're right. There's nothing wrong with Miami, and I also love the Dolphins logo as well because it's a dolphin. Obviously, that's not a reason to pick a team, but it helps if the logo is good. I tried to watch American football too many stops in a game. Yeah, that is a very good point, and that is also what many of my friends say when I try to make them watch it. The games last so long. It's basically rugby, but multiple stops and ad breaks in between, whereas rugby is just all the way through. Like, rugby games are much shorter because they don't stop all the time, they just get up and carry on. That's the only thing with American football that I completely get. But yeah, I kind of like it because I make a bit of an evening about it. Like when it's on every week, I like to kind of like have that as my ritual. Premier League isn't much different. No worries, I understand. In hockey, I support another team than my own. It's fine. Yeah, you feel like a traitor to your hometown when you say that. But actually, like you don't have to like a team just because you're from where they're from. Like I'm not from America. And I love the Miami Dolphins. So you can like teams that aren't your own. Just don't tell anybody in your town about it because then they'll not be very happy. I do need to read more King books. Same, this is what I'm saying. I really do want to read more King. I might try The Stand at some point. I think the synopsis sounds like some good dark fantasy, doesn't it? Let me quickly Google that. That sounds right up my street. I think the thing with Stephen King is that he has so many books. How do you ever pick which one to read next? And I want to read some good ones. Post-apocalyptic dark fantasy novel. Wow, okay, this sounds really cool. Thank you so much, Benjamin, for saying that because this sounds right up my street. Okay, cool. I'll read more about that later, guys. I don't want to just be googling things when I'm chatting to you. Sorry to go off topic. I don't watch much sports. No, you're on topic. We're going off topic. This is a book club live stream, and I've just started talking about American football. So I do apologise. I think it's because I really don't have much else left to say about the Gunslinger. It was okay. I don't know. I'd give it like a 2.5 out of 5 stars, like smack bang in the middle. And I love the front cover. And again, he's got his
name obnoxiously written on the side, but we love it.
So yes, it is.
It's I who has gone off topic, not you, Benjamin.
I've only read the original version of The Stand.
The original version? Are there other versions? Interesting. What book would you recommend for a newbie who wants to start with King's books? That's a brilliant question. My friend asked me last time, and I've read some of King's books, but don't know for a newbie what could be better. Yeah, sorry, Becca, that was my fault for being off topic. No, don't you worry at all. We can have some off topic stuff. It's just nice chatting. I think I said earlier that if I'd have read The Shining first as my first King book, because I loved The Shining so much.
But I do think if you read it first,
You're probably going to compare every single King book to it, and I feel like that's why maybe I didn't like this as much, because I was comparing it to The Shining. So I read Salem's Lot first, and I'd probably say that was a good
first one to read. It was kind of in the middle. Wasn't the best book I'd ever read,
but it was interesting enough. It was like really cool. I really enjoyed it. So I'd probably say maybe Salem's Lot. I think I struck gold there reading that one first, because then when I read The Shining, I was in awe. So yeah, maybe Salem's Lot. But I've only read 3, so if anybody else has any other Stephen King books that they think would be good for a newbie, please
share that, because like I said, I've only read a few.
What's the next live stream book? That is a brilliant question, Rushy.
Red Rising, Pierce Brown,
which I'm very excited for. Although literally just before I came on the live stream, somebody posted a comment on my post about this saying that somebody told them this was Game of Thrones set in sci-fi
genre,
but when they read it, they felt it was like a YA fanfic. So I think they were kind of disappointed with it. So I've heard mixed things, which makes me very excited to see what we think of this. So if you want to join next month's book club, Red Rising is our book. If you've already read it, I would love for you to come to the live stream, share your thoughts. If you haven't already read it, maybe consider it. It's a sci-fi. That's all I know. So it's perfect for fans of The Hunger Games, Ender's Game, and Star Wars. Apparently, it's Game of Thrones set in sci-fi. So apparently, I've not read it yet, so I cannot say. But it's also not that big of a book either. It's not too long, in my opinion. Okay, so King cut out hundreds of pages for the 70s releases, released a complete version in the 80s or 90s. That's very cool.
Interesting.
And you said you'd only read the original version. That's cool. So I wonder, can you get both versions now?
Or can you only get like the new release?
Yeah, please talk books, not football. A lot of us Americans don't even watch it anymore. Wow, that's cool. Yes, we will talk books, don't worry. I'll be polite and just say I'm not a fan of Red Rising. Okay, and do you know what? That is an opinion I have heard often. It was sold to me as First Law in Space. Safe to say I've had trust issues since. Oh my goodness. I love the Blade itself. I've actually just bought the second one in the series. I haven't put it on my bookshelf yet, actually. I need to do that. That upsets me, because if you'd have told me that it was like First Law in Space and that was true, I would be very happy, very, very elated by that fact.
It doesn't sound like that is the
case, and that has now upset me. Obviously, I'm going to read Red Rising anyway, because it is for part of the book club. So I'm going to read it, but that displeases me. But if I set my expectations really low, then that means it's got a better chance of like exceeding them. I might be onto something there. If I expect this to be the worst book in the world, surely it's not. So then it has to be better. And then I might enjoy it more. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do. I've started to get into sci-fi for the first time thanks to your book club, Becky. Finally branching out from fantasy. That makes me so happy. And I actually also really badly want to get into more sci-fi. So I'm really glad you've said that. But I know what you mean. Like, I think I went through a phase last year where all I was reading was fantasy. And I love fantasy. It's my favourite genre of book for sure. But I just wanted to branch out a bit, and sci-fi is always called to me. If anybody else has some good sci-fi recommendations, please let me know. I do have a couple on my bookshelf that I've not read yet that I'm really intrigued by. But I want to get into some more. I mean, Red Rising is obviously one of them. But I think other than that, it's just been Dune, hasn't it?
There might have been another one that I read. I found the 70s version randomly in my local charity shop. That's really cool. I wonder how, not that you should sell it because books should not be looked at for monetary value, but how much could you sell that for? I bet it's like rare to get that now. Mr. Goodcat, nice to see you. Hello, don't be put off by Red Rising. The rest of the series is fantastic. I'm reading Dark Age right now, and it's the best one yet. Awesome, that's cool. Yeah, and I think as well, because Red Rising, the books aren't massive, and it's also not a huge series. So I think when I read the first one, if I feel like it's just a bit like meh, I'll probably still read it. As long as I don't hate the book, I'm probably still going to read the whole series. So I'm glad that you've said that, because I imagine I'm probably going to continue the series, even though I've not read the first book yet. But I would really have to hate it to not continue reading it, if that makes sense. First Law is my favourite. That's how I found your channel. Oh, that's great. Thanks so much. Yeah, I loved The Blade itself so much more than I was expecting to. I just think Abercrombie's writing style is one that I really vibe with. And I can't wait to read the next one. It really won't be long until I do, because I mean, I wanted to read it straight away. Yes, but it's been a while since I felt that way after reading a book, and I just really enjoyed it. I've been hearing very good things about Sun Eater. Okay, that's cool. I might need to make a note of that. We want some good sci-fis, don't we? We don't want any that's going to make us not like the genre. So we want some good ones. So Sun Eater. But then again, I also heard really good things about Red Rising, and now the opinion seems to have shifted a bit. So Red Rising is fine. Okay. Cool. Golden Sun is better, but overhyped, and Morning Star is Morning Star. I reread the trilogy a couple of years ago, and my opinions haven't changed that much. Also, it can't be completely awful if you reread it, because if I hate a book, I am never going to pick that book up ever again in my lifetime. I'm not even going to look at it. Let's turn every book club into a review of The Blade itself. I'm very here for it. Yes, let's. I could talk about The Blade. I already want to reread it. I read it, 4 weeks ago? It must have been. It was just before we did the book club live stream for it. I'd finished it a few days before that, I'm pretty sure. I already want to reread it. I just really enjoyed it. Awesome stream, Becky. I have a streaming soon, so gotta go. I always enjoy your streams and your passion for books. Oh, stop, this makes me so happy. Also, you have an amazing community. Take care, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us, Jason Entertainment. I hope you enjoy your streaming, and thank you so much for your kind words. Really appreciate it. And actually, I will wrap this up soon as well, because we're approaching an hour. And I always said when I started off this book club that I would go under an hour. And the past 2 book club live streams have been over an hour. So I've been a liar, and I am very apologetic for it. It was a barely beaten paperback I got for 50 cents. Wow, amazing. That is a bargain. They're hard to come by in this world. I got Salem's Lot and The Shining in similar editions for $1.50. Wow. Is that dollar or is that euro? I'm so sorry if I've just said the wrong currency, but $1.50 anyway. That is very, very cool. You can't get books for cheap anymore, guys. I've been searching. Even the bargains are not that much good of a bargain anymore. I would love to talk about The First Law as the series goes on with people. Yeah, I am definitely hoping to read the next one in June, I think. I would say May, but my May TBR is massive. I don't think I'm going to get through my May TBR. Hint, hint, I filmed my video for my May TBR today, so that'll be going up next Sunday. I hate plugging myself. But if you're interested in what I'm reading in May, the video will be there next week. I only reread because I wasn't sure how much I remembered, because I was interested in continuing. It's an alright series, but not for me. See, this is where we're different, because if I wasn't sure how much I remembered, I would Google the plot of the first book, or a recap. But you're the better person, because you spend the time rereading and thoroughly integrating yourself into the book again. I admire that about you, and I wish I was like that.
Yeah, Euros. I'm Irish. Awesome. Thank you for
clarifying that. I'm very bad with
currency symbols. I know the words for them, but I mean, sometimes even the pound sign, it doesn't look like a pound sign to me. So that's just,
yeah. If anybody couldn't tell,
I'm very scatty.
my brain doesn't work.
All the time.
So, does anybody have any final thoughts about
The Gunslinger, or about the books that we've talked about today, or about First Law, or Red Rising, before we wrap up the live stream?
I feel like I've talked very, very fast because for some reason I'm out of breath. So that must mean that I have talked very fast.
There is no reason to be out of breath from speaking. So yeah, I do apologise if I've got a million miles an hour. I just get passionate talking about books, even if I don't like them. And American football, apparently.
Did anyone watch the movie?
Is it any good? That is a very good point, because
I'm very confused over the casting. I haven't watched it yet.
What is with the casting decisions? I don't understand.
That's not who
I pictured as the Gunslinger or the Man in Black.
But I suppose they needed popular people
in order to get people to watch the movies. The movie.
And I've also heard apparently they've squished 9 books into an hour and a half movie.
That doesn't sit right with me. That's where I have an issue.
But I may watch it.
You need to get some more standalones on your book club. You are so right. If anybody has a standalone that they would like to see in the book club, please let me know, because every book that has been suggested is part of a series. And now I've read the first books of about 20 different series. And I'm looking at the longevity of my lifespan that should be expected. And I'm looking at all the series I've started, and I'm thinking, logistically, how do I finish them all?
So if anybody has a standalone
that they would like to see in the book club, please help a gal out and let me know.
The First Law standalones.
Yes,
somebody mentioned that last time in
the live stream, and I wrote that down. What was the name of the book that everybody was saying? I wrote one down. Wow, I write a lot of notes on my phone. This needs some organisation. Babel Babel standalone. Babel Babel, which I have behind my head, don't I? Yeah, that's going to be in the poll for next time as well. So if anybody wants to read Best Served Cold, that's it. Best Served Cold. That is the one that people were recommending. Thank you. Yeah, that one could definitely be up for a book club, because I mean, I would love to read more. Abercrombie, so that one we could definitely do. Babel Babel. You've Babel Babel every month, Callum. Hopefully one month it will be picked. I'll keep putting it in the poll until it is. Even if it's like for another year. I actually really want to read it. So if anybody else wants to read it, pick it. Obviously, I don't pick the winner, so it's based on what the community would like. A historical fantasy standalone. Ooh, that sounds cool. I love is Guy Gabriel His Lions of Alvesan. Ooh, that sounds very cool. Well, thank you for that. Sorry, I am writing it down because I like to look into these things. For a short but trippy read, Susanna Clark's Piranesi. That sounds cool. Short but trippy? I'm there for that. And actually, someone else did say before that they'd like to join the book club, but the books that we've picked are really long. And they've got a very busy lifestyle. And I thought, I mean, same, but also we are picking very, very big books. And it's not accessible for everybody to read like 500 to 600 page long books. So if there are any like shorter or more reasonably sized, I mean, the Gunslinger was great for a book club. This was a great length. But yeah, if there are any like shorter books as well that anybody wants to read, hit me up.
The First Law standalones have spoilers for the trilogy, so read that first. That's very helpful to be aware of. Thank you so much. I'll definitely make sure that I read the trilogy first. And if there's anybody else who read The Blade itself and wants to read the rest of the series, then we'll, I'll make sure that we put a First Law standalone maybe in the poll towards the end of the year, so it gives us time to read the trilogy first.
Tagana is supposed to be really good by the same author. Never mind, it's long. I mean, we can still have long books. It just means that some people might struggle to read it. How long is long? What is your version of long? Or definition of long, even?
Here's me saying I'm going to end
The live stream and then just don't. This is why my videos always get edited. 812 pages. Wow, that is long. It would be a challenge.
I don't think anybody would
Read it for a month-long book club. Wouldn't recommend. Okay, cool. But yeah, I think we need to keep the books succinct. But
I'm intrigued by
a long book. I mean, imagine if I set like it
as, where is it? Him.
God, I always struggle with this mirror thing. Imagine if I set that as a book club. It's over 1,000 pages, guys. That would be a challenge. If anybody turned up to the live stream having read that in the space of a month.
I mean, it's not without
the realms, like a possibility, but I would struggle. It would take me a good, like, maybe 3 weeks to get through it, possibly. Anyway, I am going to end the live stream now. Thank you so much to everybody that has joined and for the really insightful discussions. I feel like we covered a lot today. Didn't talk about the Gunslinger massively, but what was I ready to say about it? I think my questions about it will be answered when I read the next book, and I think I'm definitely going to. And then from that point, I will decide whether or not to continue the whole series.
There's a possibility I could.
Reading books like Malazan have forever warped my perspective on what is or isn't a long book. How long are they? If I go, how long are they? Bye, Carrot Cake. Have a lovely weekend yourself. Thank you so much for joining us today. Really appreciate you all spending some of your Saturday chatting to us about books. Really do appreciate it. I will end the live stream, but I just quickly want to know how long Malazan is first. What page count it is. Good night, Benjamin. Thank you so much. It was so nice to see you. Thank you so much, everybody. I could just also Google myself how long Malazan books are. Are they like 1,000 pages? Overall, 11,000 pages. Okay, that's a lot. 11,000, wow. That would take me a lifetime to read.
Probably for the rest of my life.
Anyway, it was lovely seeing you all today, chatting to you. The next live stream will be at the end of May, the last Saturday of May, which I believe is, let me check the calendar, the 31st. And if you have read Rising and you want to chat about it, let's have another live stream. Most of them are over 1,000 pages. That is ridiculous. That person has a lot of words to write, but that intrigues me. Right, have a lovely rest of your Saturday, and I'll catch you next month. See you guys.